Well, good evening, everyone. Like you said, I'm Elijah Garcia, the co-chair of the Blue Water Task Force program, part of the San Diego chapter for Surfrider. I actually did transfer from Mesa College, and it was a wonderful experience here. I would definitely say take control of all the opportunities you have. So a little bit about Surfrider is that in 1984, a handful of visionary surfers were noticing the problems that were occurring in their home beach in Malibu, California. There was a lot of pollution problems, as well as people mismanaging the resources at a beach. So they started a grassroots nonprofit aiming on making a better beach environment for everyone, those who are simply recreating there or people that are surfing and all above. In 2018, we now have over 160 volunteer-led chapters and chapter clubs. There's been quite a bit of growth, but there's still definitely more room to be growing. This is all volunteer-led, and we aim for establishing action on the local and regional and as well as the national scale. We noticed that there's a lot of local issues that are not being played up, and that's where we really like to get our boots on the ground and talk to everyone that's in that area, as well as talking with the state and regional representatives to get long-lasting change. So our mission is really dedicated to making sure everyone enjoys the beach, and a lot of this is protecting what is at the beach, whether it's the ocean quality, making sure the beaches are still there, and making sure through a powerful network that we're all having a good time at the beach. So our vision is a big blocky statement that they give to us, but it can really be broken down into three main things. That we want to protect 100% of our oceans, no matter where they are, and continue building a dedicated network of volunteers, because it is volunteer-based, and we need to give everyone the mandatory resources that they need to continue to thrive and protect our oceans. And lastly, to fully support and fully cover everyone that is within our network, no matter how far they are, giving the same resources, giving the resources that they need locally and regionally. And sort of something that always isn't really talked about is that any nonprofit, its main goal is to no longer exist. We no longer want there to be a need for us to be active about protecting the ocean. We want everyone to sort of just agree that we need to protect our oceans. So we have 5 areas of focus, the first being beach access, making sure that everyone can have fun at the beach. No one's saying, I own this beach, so only my family or my extended family can come here. The beach is a right to everyone, and everyone should enjoy that. Secondly, it's coastal preservation, making sure that there's a beach to go to with rising tide levels, that it's going to be very difficult to maintain this, especially with seawalls that actually degrade the beach that we're trying to have fun on. Third is ocean protection, making sure that the water you're in is safe and that all the marine life there is being protected, because if anyone has gone fishing or anything, it's great to see wildlife, whether it's whales or dolphins or fish or anything snorkeling. You want to see wildlife rather than the next one, plastic. We want to eliminate plastic pollution. It causes a lot of harm to animals, kills countless every year, and it's very unsightly to see. No one wants to see plastic bags floating around when they're swimming. The last is clean water. We want to make sure that the water you're swimming in and that animals live in is safe to be swimming in and for all activities. So beach access can be really broken down, and like I said earlier, it belongs to the public. Everyone has rights to this. In California, we're lucky enough that there's a law that makes it so where the high tide level is, roughly right here, everyone has access to. Everyone is legally, no one can own it, and everything is for your enjoyment. However, we actually Surfrider just won a case on Martin's Beach in Northern California. A tech billionaire bought all the surrounding property, and he bought the road that allowed you access to the beach. So it took decades to fight, and he appealed to the Supreme Court, and they denied it, stating that everyone deserves access, you shouldn't close down the road. So that was a major victory. And that's what we try to do, because California is lucky enough to have that, but not all states nor countries have that. Secondly, like I said about coastal preservation, we want to set back developments that are going to really risk our beaches. With seawalls, what they do is, yes, they may save this house for the time being. It actually destroys the beaches because it has no more sand to grab. It only grabs the sand underneath and what's available. So actually, seawalls may be great for property owners, however, they're terrible for beachgoers. And this is an example here in northern San Diego. It's Beacons Beach. In 1972, you can see that this cliff is pretty easy to get down. There's not too many setbacks. You can go surfing or enjoy, have a day at the beach, no problem. Around 1989, it gets a little dangerous. You can see some cliffs start to form. It's a little scary, but you know, whatever, it's the 80s. And then in 2002, you can see, and in 2013, you can really see how these cliffs are getting really dangerous. Now, Surfrider, despite we wanting to limit developments, we realized that people need to be safe and people need to access this beach. The problem, once a landslide happens, you're no longer able to develop there for safety reasons. Therefore, if it were to collapse without any stairs or anything of the sort, people would have no longer have access to that beach. So we were working with the legislation there to make sure that there's a proper way of doing it, that it's the least environmental impact, and luckily we were able to get, I believe it is a concrete staircase that is actually minimally invasive compared to wood stairs, and it only takes up 6 parking spaces, so it's not terrible. The third is ocean protection. Like we said, we want to protect the animals that are in there. There's no point in enjoying the ocean if we're the only living thing in there. It just won't be as fun, and also it'd be very gross, because if you've taken a biology course, we need living things in the ocean. So one of this at home is we have the desalination plant in Carlsbad. And although they create a lot of fresh water, which we need, especially in this crisis that we're having with the drought, they have a lot of environmental impacts. A lot of this also is opposing new offshore drilling and seismic testing, because we want there to be a push for renewable energy rather than to just get more oil and put more of the wildlife at risk. Fourth, I think everyone knows, is we have plastic pollution. And really, there's so many, and you can just see countless animals dying from it, and it's really something we can avoid. So we try to work with enacting not only policies like we have with the plastic ban and now working on the styrofoam ban, we also have programs that work with local restaurants to try to limit their plastic use by giving them media coverage as well as inviting members and giving discounts to people. Additionally, for our beach cleanups, we really aim to remove roughly 75 pounds of plastic and trash from beaches and parks each year. This is actually very close to us, just above the border in Imperial Beach. It's a catch basin in the Tijuana River Valley. And to see how big it really is, this is a catch basin that stops some of the trash that gets into our waters in California. But it is very bad sight, and this is a very short-term solution. There really needs to be long-standing between both Mexico and United States to really focus on this. So we're really trying to advocate to put more policy into place to limit this happening. The fifth and final is clean water. We want everyone to enjoy it. No one wants to get sick, and if anyone has gotten sick from ocean water, they know how terrible it is. I have, and trust me, you guys do not want it. It is not a very good day or week. And we really want to make sure that everyone's enjoying it, because yes, we're older people and we have older immune systems that are wise, but there's a lot of younger kids that go to the beach. I'm sure everyone has seen toddlers playing in the beach. Their immune systems aren't capable of dealing with all the pathogens and bacteria that could be in these dirty waters. So our goal is to continue to monitor over 400 beaches, but also to enact policy that can make sure all beaches are covered. So for San Diego, this is a graph of the Tijuana River Valley Slough, which is just south of Imperial Beach. It's actually for the past 16 years, it's been closed more than half the days out of the year, legally by the San Diego County. So they don't do a wonderful job of testing, but even they know that it needs to be closed nonstop. This is over here, this is actually a grading system done by Heal the Bay. They're also a nonprofit that specializes in giving grades depending on health, pollution management, assortment of things that really dictate how well, but it's mostly centered on how healthy is the beach. So this past year during wet weather, which is roughly from November to, I believe it's March, and that's where we have most of our rain, despite California not getting much, but 26% of San Diego's beaches, 10 of them, received an F grade, meaning they're very unfit. People should not be going there at all, rather than even just going in the ocean, even playing in the sand. So this is a bad thing, but it gets progressively worse as we see that the 5-year average, when there was more rain, only 11% of our beaches were failing. Therefore, the problem has not only continued, but it's gotten worse. It's more than doubled. So along with that, and as well as having, this is in Puntas Banderas, in just about an hour south of the border, there's a plant that's discharging raw sewage into the ocean, about 20 million gallons a day. And this gets up to Camp Coronado. With any strong southern swell we get, which is very common in the summer, we have these showing up on tests. Additionally, we have sewage coming into Imperial Beach. You can visibly see all this sewage. And in February 2017, we had over 140 million gallons of raw sewage, other people's poop in our swimming water. And this isn't just Mexico who did this. We've had over 24 sewage spills in the San Diego County last year. So this isn't just Mexico allowing their sewage to come into the United States. This is us also not doing a part, but our problem. So it's more than just other people's poop. There's a lot of pathogens that come with our feces. For example, there's bad bacteria that makes your gut, no matter how cute this graphic is, you know it's not that cute when you get sick with the bacteria. There's viruses, there's protozoas, and many of these bacteria have actually gained antibiotic resistance, which is very bad considering that we're running out of antibiotics that work. So most EPA guidelines usually have us test for total coliform, fecal coliform, which is more with feces, or Enterococcus, which is a bad bacteria right here. Enterococcus facilis, which is one of the main ones. So Blue Water Task Force is a program put through with the Clean Water Initiative through the Surfrider Foundation, and has, in the United States, we have over 40 labs that are dedicated to water quality testing and getting out the results to the public. Since what happened in February 2017 and the recent events, we decided to open up 3 chapters in the San Diego area. So part of what the Blue Water Task Force program has is we begin with water testing, using these sample bottles or sample bags to collect samples every Thursday. And we do that every single week, and we post our results online, as well as putting it to social media and putting it to a newsletter. Currently, we have we're currently sampling 7 places, 2 in Imperial Beach, 2 in Coronado, and 2 in the Mission Bay Pacific Beach area. However, this is volunteer run, and we have a lot of dedicated volunteers, but the more we get, the more places we're able to sample and the better coverage we have. So this is what our sample sort of looks like. This is actually from last week. Unfortunately, we have yet to get results from the Imperial Beach and Coronado areas because they are on break, but we were able to get these 3 areas, sample sites right here, Campland in Mission Bay, the Mission Bay Aquatic Center, and Tourmaline Surf Park, which is a popular surf destination. So a lot of what we try to expand upon is this is what sort of the county looks like, where they give you a map and then they give you colors. However, what they don't give you is they don't give you the long-term data and easy to read sort of table. We have the site, the test date, the actual number of Enterococcus we find, and then what does that indicate if you were to see it on a government sort of site. So a lot of it is that we need to show you guys the data, because if you look at these ranges, for low bacteria, 0 to 35 million parts, most probable number per 100 mils, meaning that if you have 100 mils, which is roughly that little bottle that I showed you, there's going to be at least 1 to 35 bacteria that could harm you in it. So that's low bacteria, and then 36 to 104 is medium bacteria, and anything over 104 is high. However, if you see a yellow marker on a government website, you're not going to be sure if that's a 36 or 37 or a 103 and 104 mpn per 100 mils. Because if it's 104, although it's still medium, it's very close to being a very dangerous level. So what we're testing for is Enterococcus. Enterococcus is found naturally in the human digestive system, and therefore when you go to the bathroom, it comes out in your fecal material, and that's where they refer to it fancily as a fecal indicator bacteria, FIB. So like I said, we measure it in most probable number per 100 mils, meaning that despite it only being, 35 and 100 mils, it doesn't seem like a lot, but these are very potent because they're not meant to be digested by us. So what we use is a fluorescent-based assay by IDEX. It's called their EnteroAlert, which is a quanti-tray methodology, which essentially is we dilute the samples and we put in a substrate. And that substrate plays on the fact that Enterococcus have an enzyme that break down a glucose and a ceramide that is important in their daily function. However, with the IDEX nutrients, they actually have a fluorescent that once cleaved activates, and that's what we read. So you can see from these results here, once you plate it, you can see that the lighted up wells are actually where Enterococcus is found. The reason we've chosen IDEX, one, that they're a sponsor, but they're also they're EPA approved and used in multiple academic papers. We've seen multiple studies where they've been used, and that they're very good at testing the two most prominent fecal indicator bacteria, which is E. facillis and E. faecium. Also, they have quicker results than most. In 24 hours, we're able to say, although that's still pretty slow, it's better than what's out there. Also, as you can see with these wells, the results are pretty easy to interpret, and it's very easy to process for people that are very busy. We spend roughly probably 30 minutes processing the samples, and then it takes about 15 minutes to read and upload the results. And for volunteers, that's really awesome for our volunteers. So the next is education. We need to tell people about what we are finding and what people are not knowing. We need to show people that there's a lot of problems going on, so we do this by attending beach cleanups and community outreach events. People need to understand that there is sewage, there is human poop that you are swimming in. Who has been in the ocean in the last month? Raise your hand. More likely than not, you've swam with someone else's poop, because we're doing a very bad job of making sure our runoff and sewage stays out of the ocean. So we do a lot of that, and also showing our science. We also try to empower our volunteers by making them citizen scientists of the communities they live in. We try to get local volunteers that live near the issue. So we also have field training for sample collection, as well as lab training in our lab, so that people can feel empowered and actually feel like they're making a difference, because they are. We need the data. And lastly, we also have local agency presentations where they come and actually like the San Diego Regional Water Committee came by and gave us a presentation on what their work is and what a day in their life looks like. So another part of that is we need to activate our volunteers. We need to give them the resources and education that they need. And as Blue Water Task Force, that's the data and that's the education that we offer. This was held shortly after the sewage spill in February 2017, where it's no BS, we don't want any more border sewage. So luckily, we've been able to grow in the number of tests that have done in the past 6 years. And this is not including this year. This is prior to being San Diego's formation of our program. However, we've grown greatly, as well as many cities of the southern San Diego have taken action against the IBWC, the International Boundary and Waterways Commission, that is supposed to be helping us eliminate waste, eliminate the sewage that has come through from Mexico. And this is a binational issue. However, there has been little done on both sides. Also, we've gained funding, both for opening 2 labs in Imperial Beach and at our headquarters, as well as opening one recently at Coronado High School. Allie actually just dropped off the equipment last week. So lastly, we want lasting improvement. We want policy to be done. Like I said at the beginning of the presentation, we don't want to be needed anymore. We want it so that there's lasting legislation that does what we want. We want water quality testing. We want the oceans to be protected, and we want everyone to know about this. So an example of how complicated policy can be, this is the Tijuana River Valley. There's seven different agencies that are vying for property, that have property rights over there, that are all working by themselves to try to make lasting issues. And unfortunately, those who are hurt the most generally have the least amount of resources to actually make change. So a lot of what we're trying to do is establish solutions that we can communicate not only with local agencies, but also with environmental groups, such as Wild Coast, Coastkeeper, and Surfrider, to pool our resources and pool our data together. That way we can make lasting change. We want to also put legislation forward that actually has more data transparency, as well as more transparency of where they're quality testing, what they're doing, how they're doing it, how can citizens get more involved. Also, we want to allocate more resources and budget to the local agencies to establish better water quality monitoring programs. For example, I believe it is the San Diego Water Commission, where they have very few on staff. They have a limited budget, so they can't go testing everywhere we need them to do. A lot of what Surfrider doing, the Blue Water Task Force is doing right now, is extending and filling in the gaps that San Diego cannot test right now because they don't have the budget. So a lot of what putting through education forward is educating, talking to people like yourselves that feel empowered and want to make change, letting you guys know that there is an issue at hand, and that when it is time to get involved and vote, that you guys know properly about the issue. So if you guys would like to get involved, there's myself, Elijah, and Ali right over here. There are emails, and then our meeting for Blue Water Task Force is every third Monday of the month. The next one is this month, October 15th, at the Surfrider headquarters in Sorrento Valley. If you guys feel more intrigued with another type, you can learn a lot more about all of our other wonderful programs at the Core Volunteer. We have a lot more options, whether it's beach cleanups and different types of community outreach. That is going to be Wednesday the 17th at Surfrider Foundation. So you can actually find all of this information too at sandiego surfrider.org. So thank you guys.